Today, we find out if Tom Walsh can beat up Robert Saleh. Good morning. Welcome to the 49ers Playbook. That's former Raiders offensive coordinator Tom Walsh. I'm Grant Cohn. Got a lot to talk about. The Niners play tomorrow. They just played a few days ago. So as we always do, we give Kyle Shanahan tips and ideas of how to beat the upcoming opponent. But first, I want to get Tom's opinion on what happened. He called it. We talked about it last week. He had a feeling the Jaguars were going to win. What did you think of how the Niners lost, and why do you think they lost?
Oh, well, do you want to start with the offense first? Or
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, let's go
Whatever you
offense
want.
first. Okay. Obviously they're struggling running the ball. And then McCaffrey doesn't look like the old Christian McCaffrey. Well, he is old. He's not like the younger Christian McCaffrey, okay? Let's be honest. And you're missing some offensive weapons as well. And Kittle's not in the game, and Jennings is limping around, and Ayuk is not there. But still, as an offensive coordinator, a play caller, a play designer, it's Kyle's job to find a way to get the ball to other players, to get them involved in the game, to create them as weapons, to be able to move the sticks, create a red zone offense that can get in the end zone, can run the ball. Have they scored a rushing touchdown this year?
Negative,
yeah. That's just unbelievable. I've got other running backs besides. If I want to keep McCaffrey in the game, hey, put in a second running back. Take out Juszczyk. Put in a guy who can run the ball and who also can do some blocking if you want. But I can use McCaffrey in the game as a split receiver, motion him out of the backfield, find a way to integrate him into the passing game, and still have a fresh legs in the backfield to run the ball. And then be able to run the ball more than just to the offensive right side of the formation. That's the other key thing. Somehow the left side is the dead side of the offense in the run game.
We've been trying to get Kyle Shanahan to get McCaffrey in the slot and have another running back on the field at the same time, like a two tailback formation. Since Jordan Mason was on the team, he's never done it. Did you do that when you had Bo and Marcus?
Yes. See, that was the great thing. Look, when you've got two backs, both of whom are Hall of Famers, even though Bo's career was hampered by the injury that cost him his career against the Bengals in the playoffs. But yeah, we would go with what we call the rocket personnel. We have 21 personnel. We had 21 rocket. Well, that was, two backs, rocket, speed. Okay. If I wanted to put two fullbacks in the game, we'd call 21 tank. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now two fullbacks would be in the game. So then you have your regular 21 personnel, 21 rocket, 21 tank, 21 jumbo. We would take a defensive lineman or an extra offensive lineman and put him in the backfield if we wanted to punch a hole down on the goal line for Marcus or Bo or Vance Mueller or for any of the other long list of running backs that we had. But yeah, you've got to be able to create offensive packages to find a way to utilize your personnel and to be able to give the opponent something else about which to worry than just a two-prong attack.
Right. So the running game is broken. It's McCaffrey, it's the blocking, it's Kyle Shanahan not using his personnel creatively. What about the defense? What did you see from the defense in this game?
I was looking for Robert to be able to come up with a different package, a different look, that if his four-man rush was not getting there, that he would find a way to run a fire zone scheme or selectively try to play some kind of a blitz package to attack a protection, but he never did that. If I'm not mistaken, they had no sacks, no quarterback hits, no real pressures, and they played what I call a soft coverage scheme for the majority of the game. Mm-hmm. And that allowed Trevor Lawrence to be able to play pitch and catch at his will. And even though they did a better job defensively in the second half, they still didn't get any turnovers. I mean, nothing dynamic on defense to really force the Jaguars to alter their own game plan.
It seemed like if they want to throw those quick passes, then play some press man coverage, maybe bring a fifth rusher. and try to take away the quick passes. But he was conceding them to like Brian Thomas Jr. all day. Why are you scared of Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter? I don't understand that.
That's the bottom line is, of course, you play bump and run, and most of your quick routes convert to a vertical concept. Whether you throw the hitch or the quick out, your slants may stay on. Your 12-yard outs or 10-yard outs may stay on. Some teams will make a run it call. Other teams will convert them to 9 routes or go routes. And of course, now he's worried maybe about the PIs down the field. But Trevor Lawrence is not a threat throwing the deep ball. That is not their strength offensively. And so I would force him to have to complete 1 or 2 of them before I would worry about it.
Niners also gave up an 87-yard touchdown return on special teams. They made a big show of improving their special teams this offseason, brought in a bunch of new players, new coordinator. Kicker seems good, but it seems like the special teams are still costing them games, partly.
The other thing I always have a concern about, Kyle, all the time you discuss what goes on in two-a-days and mini camps and training camp and everything. I never hear you ever say they have a segment every day where they work on special teams. And
they do. It's just it's about 10 minutes.
Okay, but if you don't have a emphasis on it, a 10-minute period is just, it takes them half that time to get lined up and get the scout team out there and to get everybody lined up to kick the ball 2 or 3 times. And you've got so many phases of the kicking game. I think, you have to involve more commitment, and it comes from the head coach. He sets the tone. If I go back and look at John Harbaugh, he was a special teams coordinator with the Eagles before he became a head coach with the Ravens. And, you look at the emphasis on special teams. You go look at Kansas City, you look at the emphasis on special teams. They've got a great special teams coach. But yeah, you have to have it as a point of emphasis, just like in the run game. If you don't have an emphasis in the run game, because you got 9,000 protection schemes and 85 ways to throw the ball to McCaffrey on a 5-yard, 7-yard route or whatever, different combination out of the backfield, your running game is not physical. It's not dynamic. It's not explosive. It's all vanilla blocking schemes, which really don't cause the defense to lay awake at night worrying about, am I going to get down blocked? Am I going to get trap blocked? Are they going to combo block me? Are they going to wham me with an extra tight end coming in motion in the backfield? You don't see any of those things from the Niners.
Elephant in the room here is the quarterback. They said he was healthy. He wasn't on the injury report. I don't know. What did you think of Brock Purdy in this game?
When we talked about it last week, I was against him playing because I didn't think that he could be, regardless of what Kyle's reports were or what the PR spin was from the Niners, there's no way that he was going to be 100% healthy. There's no way he was going to be able to transfer the weight. There's no way he's going to be able to throw the ball with conviction. And you look at the floaters and the lack of accuracy with which he threw the ball on Sunday. And I told you, I would have pulled him at halftime. I would have pulled him in the third quarter. He just was, if a starting pitcher had played like that, you go to the pen, you're going to walk out to the mound and you're going to give me the right or left arm. Hey, pull the hook. And then now the other day I just read where Kyle says, well, we only play the guy if he's at 100%. Well, he wasn't even at 50% on Sunday. You trotted him out there. Now you're trying to say that he's going to be at 100% before you play him on Thursday. Well, now you've changed in midstream because that surely wasn't your philosophy on Sunday when you lost a ball game you should have won because your quarterback did not function like he should have.
Yeah, for all the things we're talking about, the running game, the special teams, what Robert Saleh could have done better, it seems like they lost because they played a quarterback who was hurt and he turned the ball over 3 times. And I'm not saying they would have won with Mac Jones, but I think they would have had a better chance. I'm guessing. I guess we'll never know.
I know, 20/20 hindsight. But let me say this. Without the quarterback being physically healthy, being able to move, just watching him throw the football, a couple of passes, and, my goodness gracious, you could tell he was not anywhere near his best and not good enough to win.
Yeah, and it would have been easy to say, you know what, he tweaked it. It's hurting him. It's not responding the way he hoped. We're going to sit him down. It's not that we're benching him. We still believe in Brock Purdy, but he's not fit to play.
They had a chance to be a 4-0 ball club going into 2 tough ball games in the next 2 weeks. Thursday night, and then the following week they got to go to play Tampa down in Florida, and they had a chance to go into those ball games 4-0.
Yeah, and they kind of unraveled. The big thing that happened at the end, first of all, Fred Warner jumped over the victory pile and tried to knock out the ball from Trevor Lawrence's hands and fell on one of the Jaguars' legs. That was kind of the first example of maybe sore losing. And then a few moments later, Robert Saleh and Liam Cohn have their big confrontation. As you know, Robert Saleh made a point to call out Liam Cohn last week, and he tried to say like it was a compliment, but Liam didn't take it that way. Liam told him to stop talking about him in more aggressive terms, and Robert Saleh yelled back at him some weird threats. What did you think of how that unfolded and how Liam Cohn took it?
I hate to say this, but when you don't win the ball game, just shake the guy's hand, say, "Hey, good luck," and walk off the field.
Yeah.
Say a little bit when you win, and say even less when you lose, and just hey, there's no point in you're heated after a ball game. Your emotions are going, your juices are flowing, you're animated in a lot of respects. It's not a great time to be able to get into a debate with the opposing coach.
I mean, I guess my question for you is, if Saleh were coaching against you and had said that the day before the game, would you have taken it as a compliment, or would you have said, like, how would you have felt about that? Like, what sign stealing?
I would have ignored it. To be honest, to me, it's noise. It's static. Why should I allow that to clutter my mind when my focus should be on the ball game and our players and what we're going to do offensively or schematically from a game perspective? I can't worry about that chatter. That's just, what? I hate to say it. That's juvenile.
It is juvenile.
I'm sorry. I don't want to use a bad term or say something, but I'm sorry to get into that kind of a, brouhaha. It's just totally juvenile. It's worthless. It's negative.
Do you think it had any impact on the game?
I should think not. I would hope not, to be honest.
Have you ever seen anything like that happen when you were coaching? 2 coaches, 2 coordinators yelling at each other after a game, or almost fighting, or actually fighting?
Let me tell you, I can tell you a story playing the Niners in Candlestick. And they had a coach who's now deceased, not Bill, popping off in the elevator going down after the ball game. And he was a former quarterback down in a Southern Conference school. And we had a coach who was a former quarterback at a Southern Conference school who had played in the NFL as well as a secondary player for years. And the Niner guy was kind of popping off. Well, our coach put one on the guy's chops, and the guy just slid down the wall of the elevator. And not one of the 49er coaches around this guy moved. No one said a word.
Like he kind of.
So that kind of it. No one said boo. Nothing. Not a peep.
I think I know who you're talking about, but I won't say. Then there was the Tom Cable punched his own coach, but I don't think that's the same ballpark of what we're talking about here.
Not the same thing, though.
All right, let's look ahead to this game. Which quarterback should start tomorrow for the 49ers against the Rams?
I'd start Mac Jones. And I would construct a game plan that fits his skill set.
From what we saw with Brock Purdy, it seems like he would need to be close to 100% to give the Niners the best chance to win.
I'm sorry. You know what? He even intimated the fact that he was still sore. Okay, they played Sunday. Mm-hmm. He was gimping around in the game anyway. Whether he was shot up or not, who knows? But obviously he played like he was limping. It impacted his throws, his targets, his accuracy, all that kind of stuff. I mean, he threw some floaters. He threw, in the old vernacular, he had wild pitches. He scattered the ball all over the place. But anyway, I'd go with Mac. I'd also tried out this kid, DeMarcus Robinson, that other wide receiver who played with the Rams, who they just signed. I'd tell Kendrick Bourne, hey, go have a Subway sandwich and some, sunflower seeds on the sideline. I would trot out the other guy, and then I would get him involved in the game plan and early, fresh legs, healthy, knows the Rams secondary players. I'd put him in the game. I'd start the guy. And the thing is Pearsall going to start?
We'll see. He didn't practice yesterday.
Well, yeah. And Jennings didn't practice. McCaffrey didn't practice. You got to trust somebody out there.
Yeah. I think it's interesting now that the Niners went from playing Brock Purdy no matter what to saying we want him to be 100% before he goes back out there. Did they realize that he needs to be 100% to be effective, or are they realizing that if he plays through this injury, it'll never go away?
Both. It's never going to go away regardless. And secondly, he can't perform if he's not at least close to or almost 100%.
When you say it's never going to go away,
there's not a lot of quarterbacks who can. I remember who was the quarterback years ago playing in the NFL, and his offensive linemen were helping him up the line of scrimmage. He went on to coach in the NFL as an assistant, also as a coordinator, quarterback coach down
Leftwich.
south. Yeah, Brian Leftwich.
Yep.
And they helped him up to the line of scrimmage. They put him in the shotgun, and basically he was playing with one leg. That's not Brock Purdy.
When you say it's never going to go away, do you mean like throughout the season he'll play, it'll be very sore the next day, he'll manage it throughout the week, and by the next Sunday, hopefully he'll be ready to go?
Yeah, it's going to be, to what degree is he going to be able to tolerate the pain? To what degree can it, quote unquote, get a little bit better during the week with treatment and all that? And depends upon his healing process as to how well he can respond to it, and his pain threshold as to how well mentally he can play without it being a hangnail on him, so to speak.
Well, I thought it was most alarming about how it affected his play. I mean, obviously he was less mobile, but I don't think that was the big issue in this game. I think he was less accurate. The way it affected his throws made me feel like he shouldn't be playing until he's much more healthy.
We talked about that even last week before a previous Thursday, discussed how it was going to impact his weight transfer, his conviction with which he would throw the ball. And I'm sorry, people laughed at me, but I said, hey, he's not going to be the same quarterback regardless of how far along he may be in, quote unquote, the healing process.
Yeah, it seems like now that his foot hurts, that he's throwing a little bit like Jimmy Garoppolo, where, all arm, no lower body. And he doesn't really have the body to pull that off. I mean, when I think of him as a thrower, I think of him kind of like Tim Lincecum in the sense that he has to get the full body momentum and torque starting with his lower body to get any zip on his throws. He's not like Justin Herbert who can just fire missiles with his arm.
That is true. That's accurate assessment of his arm talent, so to speak.
I mean, even Mac Jones has really a much stronger arm than Brock Purdy if Brock Purdy's just standing flat-footed.
I tell you what, I watch Purdy throw sometimes, and I tell you what, I go back to the quarterback the Niners had a couple years ago, who still is in the league, who had been at a backup, who had a couple of good ball games. I think he was from Southern Miss.
Mullins.
Yeah. What's the difference between Purdy's arm and Nick Mullins' arm?
It's a good point. I think the difference between them is the mobility, but in terms of how they throw, is pretty similar.
That's what I'm saying. So therefore, can you think of Nick Mullins standing there flat-footed and be able to throw the ball through the car wash without getting wet? Heck no.
No.
Same thing with Brock Purdy.
It's interesting. When they drafted Brock Purdy, Kyle Shanahan immediately compared him to Nick Mullins. Of course, he ended up being better than Nick Mullins, but because Mullins couldn't really move the way Brock could. But with this toe injury, he seems a lot more like Nick Mullins than Brock Purdy.
Well, and it's even worse because it's impacting his accuracy and his targets and the conviction with which he's making throws.
And the last thing with him, I mean, toe injury or not, the interceptions are piling up with Brock Purdy. He's thrown 2 in 3 consecutive games. What do you see? I mean, some of it is just inaccuracy. Some of it seems like bad decisions, or maybe, throwing blind, throwing with anticipation. What do you see?
I saw the end zone of the last interception that he threw over the middle of the field.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it from behind the defense. And I could see Brock all the way through the defense to the defensive line, the offensive line, and then I could see him. And when he could release the ball, he did not have a clear lane of vision to make that throw.
Mm-mm.
And then there was a Jaguar defender in a teal uniform standing directly in front of the intended receiver.
Mm.
I mean, there's no way. It was one of those, Ray Charles.
And they say like, oh, well, his pass was tipped. Like, well, yeah, what do you expect when you're 6 feet tall and you can't get a clear passing? I mean, Drew Brees was good at finding those little lanes.
Yeah, but there was no way that he could have made that throw with the thought that he saw an opportunity to get the ball in there. There's no one there. I'm sorry, no way.
Okay, so you would start Mac. I would start Mac. Who do you think will start? I mean, Brock Purdy wants to be a tough guy. If he walks into Kyle Shanahan's office and says, hey, coach, I'm ready. I want to play. What do you think they're going to do?
I'm saying I'm sorry. I don't see it. I haven't seen him. I would put him out on the field, make him drop back, run around, scramble. I would make him try to throw the ball 65, 70 yards down the field. I want to see a grunt throw.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Put some mustard on the ball. Don't float it. And he can't do that. I can tell you right now he can't do it.
Right. Give him a test. He can't pass. I mean, he didn't even practice this week. And the practice before a Thursday night game is like a walkthrough on a Tuesday. He couldn't do that.
No. I'm sorry. You can't practice, you can't play.
All right, let's break down. Go ahead.
Like your practice. So if he doesn't practice, it's over.
I mean, they tried it last week. He tiptoed through practice last week, convinced himself that he could play in an NFL game. It didn't work out.
No. Move on.
Let's help Robert Saleh before we get to Kyle Shanahan. Robert Saleh is going to be facing Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford, Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua. It's a pretty explosive offense. What is and no Nick Bosa? What can Robert Saleh do?
Well, I tell you, last week he proved his four-man rush can't get there.
Yep.
Okay. Now Stafford's not very mobile, but let me tell you something about him. Right now, statistically, he is the best deep ball thrower in the National Football League.
Wow.
Yardage. Okay. Last week against they beat the Colts because that Colt receiver dropped the stinking ball on the 2-yard line or whatever. But anyway, go back and look at Stafford's fourth quarter. He had a perfect quarterback rating for the fourth quarter. Okay. He's got Nacua had 13 catches last week, 42 for the season so far. The guy's on record to catch like 170 something balls if he stays healthy. Who are the Niners going to have who can cover the guy man to man? Okay. 2, I look at this guy Devontae Adams on the outside, who's a great deep receiver. Okay. And then I look also last week when he throws an 80-yard touchdown pass, catch and run to another wide receiver who barely sees the field. The guy had one target the whole game. It goes 88 yards for a score. And then the running back is not that shabby.
No.
If 4 cannot get there in this ball game against the Rams, Saleh's got to find a way to get a 5th guy engaged in the rush, or go to a fire zone scheme where I can overload one side of the Rams protection scheme with extra bodies and then zone drop behind it and force Stafford to bring the ball out because I've overloaded his protection without playing man-to-man coverage. If I can't play man-to-man coverage, then I've got to be concerned. But the thing of how is a zone going to stop Puka Nacua from catching 15 balls? If I want to throw the ball to him 20 times, Stafford will complete 18 of them.
Yeah. I mean, Trevor Lawrence just did that with Brian Thomas last week. What do you expect Matthew Stafford and Puka Nacua to do against his zone?
I've got to find some way to disrupt the timing, the rhythm, and the play of the Rams' offensive passing game.
Well, it's going to be an interesting matchup for the rookie Upton Stout. He's been playing in the slot for the Niners. He's 5'8". He's pretty good, but that's a tough matchup against Puka Nacua.
Well, there are some things you can do as well as, I can go to kind of a box and one kind of concept from a secondary perspective, man up Nakua and play zone behind it. And we used to call that like a silver or a white coverage, where we could play wherever the receiver went, who he wanted to double, we could lock him and play zone behind them and play a 3-deep scheme behind them, and hope that theoretically when he runs a route in certain areas of the field, you're going to get a double automatically, because of the zone defender in that area can also match up when Nakua gets into that zone. So I would go into that kind of a concept. I'd say, okay, we're going to lock him. I may want to take a corner and travel with Nakua.
Yeah, it seems to me that you got to get Lenore on Nakua.
Yeah, okay, let me say this. If I don't put my best player on their best player, what are my chances of winning if I have my third or fourth corner covering their best receiver?
Yeah, I don't see how you can.
You can't. So
Yeah.
I'm going to travel with, my best corner.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that makes sense to me. So the checklist for Robert Saleh is don't give Puka Nacua a free release into your secondary so he can catch 15 passes. And don't let Matthew Stafford stand in one spot and dice you up against a bunch of guys with free releases. Like don't do what you did against the Jaguars, essentially.
Yeah, I've got to come out and say, okay, playing vanilla, okay, I cannot bank on the fact of the Rams not executing to be able to be a way to play defense against them.
That was his plan against the Jaguars. They'll mess up.
Correct. That's not going to fly against McVay's offense. That's not going to fly against a veteran quarterback like Stafford's got arm talent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Niners wouldn't really know what that looks like. Okay, let's talk Niners offense against the Rams defense. Mac Jones says it's the best defense in the league. It's definitely a very serious pass rush, and the Niners offensive line is what it is. What should Kyle Shanahan do?
Well, I tell you, I would find a way to get the ball out of my hands more quickly. The other thing, too, which I look at these teams, and I watch teams try to throw all these screens. And the majority of teams that utilize screens are not successful, because nowadays I watch linebackers, and the minute that the timing between the line and the back on offense is not too good, if the back's out there in front of the line, ahead of the line, and it's a dead play. What we did all the time at the Raiders, which really allowed success, you run screens with Marcus and Bo and Eric Dickerson and whomever else we had on the roster at the time. We always tied in a wide receiver or a tight end in the hash area of the game, so that when the quarterback brought back and he went to throw the screen, if he saw the defensive backers tag it and go with it right now, he could always pop the ball to the guy in what we call the hash area of the field, somewhere between 8 to 10 yards, facing the quarterback, sitting down, because those backers are vacating to go play the screen. Bam, I'm going to pop the ball right over the middle to Raymond Chester, to Dave Casper, to Todd Christensen, to Ethan Horton, to Mike Dial, whomever we have playing tight end, or even a slot receiver in a slot formation, and that guy became the tight end guy. And you sit Branch down, or Dokie Williams, or Lofton, or James Jett, or Timmy Brown, or somebody, and just pop them the football when the defense reacts to the screen. Now
you can't be wrong.
Correct. Because now, how many times have you watched a quarterback have to throw the ball on the ground and bury it at the feet because the screen's been locked down and covered? I don't have to do that. When I got a receiver as an outlet, bam, I just pop it. I can stand there and just arm throw it, to a receiver 8 to 10 yards in the hash area straight in front of me.
So the key for Kyle Shanahan tomorrow is to not let the Rams pass rush win the game. So he has to go back into the old Jimmy Gimme playbook and get the ball out of whomever the quarterback's hands is quickly.
Correct. And the other thing about it, look at this kid Verse, okay? Defensive rookie of the year last year, I believe. The guy's got 17 total tackles in 4 ball games. He's got, the last 2 weeks, he's had a sack in each game. He's had a forced fumble in the game. Now, the other thing that they're getting smart with Chris Shula, the defensive coordinator, is that they're allowing Verse to move around. He's not always lined up on the edge. They're lining him inside. They're moving him around defensively, so now they can get a better matchup for them rushing the passer. Maybe I want to put him over the Niners rookie left guard rather than put him over Trent Williams, rather than put him over
Colton Kivitz.
Kivitz on the outside. So where do I want to put him? And it kind of goes back to the old days with the Bears when they had some great pass rushers and all that, and they would stack their best pass rusher. We did it with Ted Hendricks. We would make a joker call, and he could line up wherever he wanted to line up. And he would prowl along the defensive front and take whatever gap he felt like taking. And we used to do it with Howie Long. He would make a cover call, and Howie would tell a defensive lineman next to cover me. And Howie did not know where he was going to go until he saw how you pass set as an offensive lineman. And he would start his rush, and then once you took a pass set, then bam, he would make either a swim move or a rip move or a club move or a bull rush or whatever, butt you and run you and pick a side. And then the other player on that side of the field from a defensive lineman perspective would cover the gaps that Howie didn't take. So I could do that with this verse guy and put a lot of pressure on the Niners front in protection packages.
All right, well, let's go to the chalkboard and check out some plays to help Kyle Shanahan. As you guys know, this is what we call the Playbook Breakdown segment powered by Pass Reps, where we make you smarter about football every week. You can get pass reps yourself and actually practice calling plays before Sunday for only $1.99 a month. Just go to passreps.com or click the link in the description. Let me put the little, hold on. Boom. There it is, passreps.com. Okay, Tom.
Yes.
Which play should we look at first? Should we look at Hank or which one do you want to look at?
Well, no, you got Hank up on the screen right now. Go back to Hank. Okay. This is an old Bill Walsh play. I tell you, no disrespect about it. This is a throw and catch concept. I'm going to start with a 3-2 drop if I'm under center. I can throw the ball when I hit my last step. Joe and Steve Young and those guys would take this throw and just bang, pop it right into the middle of the formation to the tight end. If the tight end was covered up and not open, they could just take the ball and go outside to either wide receiver away from the rotation. See right there in the middle, I'd see a middle of the safety, deep third. I got the linebacker split. Just pop the ball right to the guy for 6 to 8 yards right there. Just have him go sit down in the hash area, get open, and just play pitch and catch. And the great thing about it, Grant, is we can, they can run this from a multitude of formations. You can run it from empty set. You can run it from 2 backs. You can run it from 1 back. You can run it from, the trips formation. You can get in a myriad of looks. You can put McCaffrey on the wing. We could run him on the flat route right there. Maybe the Rams were playing zone are going to invert and rotate to McCaffrey. Well, this gives me a chance to throw the ball from Y out to Z because I'm throwing the ball away from rotation. And
let's look at it against split safeties.
Correct. Now, if against a 2-deep scheme, they're playing light in the box, light in coverage. Now I just have to be able to find a hole, tell the Y to slide away to get open. I got a 3-on-2 to the strong side of the formation, bring the ball out to the right.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. And this is just an old Bill Walsh West Coast football play, West Coast offense play.
Yeah, they called it Hank. And, we had a lot of Niners come play for us in their latter parts of their careers. The Tom Rathmans, the Jamie Williams, all those guys. They all, Roger Craig, they all made it. They all, wore silver and black before they packed it in. And we would say, okay, what do you like to run? What is comfortable? What do you know best in your offense? And that's why we integrated a lot of those concepts to suit the skill sets of those players. And they could actually were like encyclopedic knowledge for us on how to teach our players how to run the route correctly.
I like the idea of getting the ball to Jake Tonjes quickly in this game. I feel like he's a guy who's really asserted himself on this offense, and he deserves maybe some more plays. Kyle Shanahan's been so fixated on Christian McCaffrey. How about the tight end?
I know. You've got the pressure route that we talked about last week that they didn't throw to Tonjes. I tell you what, you can throw the pressure route, you can throw the stick route, you can throw Hank route. Those 3 patterns right there, I could give them 4 or 5 catches during the ball game. And basically, they help me move the sticks. They help me keep the ball in manageable down and distance situations. I got to play small ball somewhere along the line with the passing game to be able to help an anemic run offense.
How about this play here, Hornet?
Okay, this is I tell you, Bill used to call this camel because of the hump in the camel, which was the hitches on the outside by the outside receivers. And I'll tell you, 3-step drop, quick 3, bam, the ball comes up. I go to a 1-back set. I can even have my back and tight end block for maximum protection on either side. Still have a 3-receiver release, run a vertical slot, a vertical seam route by number 2, throw the hitches on the outside. If you want to play man-to-man bump and run, now that hitch at 6 yards converts to a go route. So I got a vertical option that if I want to take a shot deep based upon my matchup, I can go deep vertically. If the coverage is soft, I'm going to look for the softest corner, the corner furthest off, take my drop, bam, ball's out. If I'm in the gun, I've got to run my hitch a little bit deeper because by the time I get the snap, catch it, and throw it, it takes longer than if I took a quick 3 under center. So I throw it from under center, the hitch is at 6. If I'm in the gun, the hitch is at 8 yards. And a guy named Warren Moon was the one who educated us on that back because they ran the run and shoot. We had him in the Pro Bowl one year, him and Jim Kelly at quarterback, and they talked about the difference between being under center and being in the gun and how that affected your quick game. So the cornerback on defense cannot clue the quarterback's drop and break on that.
As you guys can see, every week Tom puts together a fresh game plan inside pass reps with updated rosters, new opponents, and real plays from real NFL playbooks, including the one Bill Walsh used. Step into the offensive coordinator's role for less than $2 a month. Links below. Just go to passreps.com. We're going to be doing this every week. And this is a really interesting tool so you can see how these plays work against specific coverages. That was cool. All right, Tom, it's time to make a prediction. You think the Niners are going to win this week, right?
You know what? You better pay the mortgage before you bet the house, okay? Make sure your bills are all paid on September 30th so that you don't have any balances due after October 2nd if you're betting on the Niners to win this one.
Yeah, they're supposed to lose by about a touchdown.
You know, I tell you what, the Rams can run the ball better than you think.
Yeah.
And I know they can throw the ball a heck of a lot better than, the guy wearing teal last Sunday. So I tell you, they're going to have to find a way to get Stafford rattled off his mark, make him move his feet. They're going to have to create some kind of pressure because tell me from where the 4-man rush is going to get to Stafford. Who's going to have a sack? Who's going to be able, we always
if it's not Bryce Huff, it's not going to be anyone.
Well, you know what? If I'm the Rams and Bryce Huff is out there in the field and 2 other rookies, I'm going to chip Bryce Huff.
Yeah.
I'm going to take him away. Make one of those other 3 guys out there have a pass rush that can, hit Stafford, that can hurry him, that can pressure him, that can make him have to move.
Yeah, and the Niners drafted that defensive lineman in round 1, and he may end up being an excellent player. He does seem to be a good run defender most of the time. He was complicit in that long touchdown run they gave up, and he's not winning a lot of one-on-one pass rush reps.
Yeah, he doesn't have that fast. His twitch is not fast enough to be a sack master right off the bat.
Do you think he can develop into one, or is he always going to be more of a blue-collar run defender?
I see him as more of your steady Eddie run defender. I don't see a lot of flash in this guy. He doesn't have that kind of athleticism and that kind of fast twitch and that instant acceleration, one step and boom, explode that you would like to see in a pass rusher to win on the edge.
Saleh keeps comparing him to Eric Armstead. He's a little bit smaller than Armstead. Is that what you see?
Yeah, he's an interior guy.
Yeah. Like an edge guy. Yeah. Kind of a tweener.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got a score?
I can see, I hate to say it, maybe 23-17 at the best for the Niners to stay close. I can see where, the Rams can dominate this game. The other thing, I'll tell you what, the one thing I like about McVay in the run game, he takes his wide receivers and runs a lot of insert blocking. if you know what I mean by that,
Yeah,
where
like
he
inside
takes
the tight end.
puts them in motion or lines them up inside, and he goes up in between the tackle and the tight end to block a safety, rather than try to get him on the edge on the outside, and the safety steps up and beats the blocker from the angle on the outside. McVay will insert him inside, so he has a heads-up angle to block the safety, and that helps negate the extra defender in the box.
That's interesting. And if that guy's Puka Nacua, that guy's like a tight end himself.
Yeah, I like the toughness of the Rams receivers to block in the run game. They're not just all a bunch of divas out there to catch the ball.
Interesting. Shrek says Kyle's ego is in the way, no intellectual responsibility. Dazza says, regardless of what you think about Brock's ability, how can you have a franchise quarterback that is constantly injured?
Ask Cincinnati with Joe Burrow.
It's true. Yeah.
That guy's a guy. Talk about a guy with a glass chin. Holy Toledo, that guy's a China doll.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like Cincinnati's going anywhere with him making all that money. I mean, they can't protect him. He can't stay healthy. I wonder if they're regretting it. Frisco Shill says, why is Kyle calling slow developing plays? Are the Niners maximizing padded practice time in the preseason? If not, how is that impacting execution?
Well, I tell you what, if you don't put on the pads, you don't have any kind of power, any kind of push, any kind of oomph in your run game. You know, that outside zone blocking scheme, you could go down the street, go to the bus station, take 5 guys off the bus, line them up, and have them lateral step and block outside zone. Yeah. It's a button run. Just get in front of the guy, screen and dance with the guy. Be like Velcro, hit and stick, and just mirror the defender. That doesn't require power. That's all about positioning and allowing the defense to move laterally, and then having your back be able to be a daylight runner, to take that one step, put your foot in the ground, and make a cut. One step cut.
Yeah, you don't have to move them backward. You just have to get your helmet on the right side of them and kind of like wall them off.
Correct. Just mirror the guy. And, you know, it's like, think about this. When you play basketball, if you're guarding the guy, you have to just move your feet and stay in front of the guy, laterally, be quick, and beat him on your movement laterally, and just mirror him and go, and just, you know, block him.
It seems to me that, to Frisco's question about like the preseason, it seems to me that the preseason really is September in the NFL. Like training camp isn't what it used to be. Preseason isn't what it used to be. Players aren't really prepared for the season. And by October, if your team isn't completely on IR, you might be ready to make a run.
You know, Tom Brady last year, I heard him make a comment that he even admitted that football in September in the NFL now is basically garbage.
It is.
He says you don't see good football the first 4 weeks of the season. And that, as you had mentioned, has become the new NFL training camp. That's your preseason right there, because no one's playing in the preseason anyway. So you're auditioning all these rookies, but your veterans are on the sideline having snow cones while your rookies are out there playing.
Novin has a question for Tom. He says, what would you do with a player like McCaffrey who refuses to come off the field and not let other running backs play?
We never had that problem. And we had some Hall of Famers.
Are you, I mean, have you ever seen players like that who are such competitors, they want to stay on the field, but it takes a coach to stand up and say, hey, for the betterment of the team, we're going to sub you out right now? You
know, Kyle should have had that conversation during the week with Christian McCaffrey and called him into his office and said, hey, let me say this, bud. We like how you play, whatever, yada, yada, yada. But when we send the guy on the field for you to replace you, there's logic and a reason behind what we're doing. We expect you to conform with our decision and come to the sideline, take a break, get some fluids, and then we'll substitute you back in. But when we come out there, you're not out there to stand up. That'd be like you coming out to the mound to replace the pitcher and he refuses to get off the mound and chases you back. No, not going to happen.
To me, it's possible that Kyle's had that conversation with Christian and Christian just ignores him, but I would think it's more likely that Kyle's avoided that conversation.
Yeah. Kyle probably doesn't want the confrontation, but the bottom line is, I'm sorry, there comes a time and a place when you got to take a player and say, we're going to rotate. We're doing this. You're going to get X amount of snaps. We're going to utilize all of our personnel. We're not a one-trick pony with you staying in there for 64 snaps of the game.
I mean, because of all the offenses in the league, the Niners are like the most one-trick pony offense in the league. It's every other play goes to McCaffrey.
Yeah. It's more, I tell you, I charted at one point, it was 64% of the snaps. He was either getting the handoff in the run game or he was the target in the passing game. Not that he caught the ball, but the throw was aimed at him.
Yeah. And you wonder why this offense just isn't that good. Maybe they're featuring the wrong player.
Well, the other thing is, think about all the other guys on the field. When you run a pass route and you're wide open and you never get the quarterback to take a look at you, after a while you become a little bit disheartened.
Yep.
Okay. You got to get the ball to the players to keep them involved in the game, to keep them motivated, to make them feel like they have a vested interest in the outcome. They're not out there like iron deer on the lawn, just, occupying space.
Yeah. Well, Kyle, Tom and I don't have high hopes for you this week, but if you follow our suggestions, you just might pull it off. Brock, hope you don't have to play in this game. Matt, good luck. Tom, thank you very much as always. I'll see you again next week.
Okay, well, enjoy. You're going to LA, I presume, tomorrow, huh?
I am. I'm flying in morning of, flying out night of.
Okay.
Quick one.
In and out.
See what happens.